Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Free Zone. Tonight in the Free Zone, we've got LHS Cheer. Uh, LHS Cheer has really impressed me over the years. They're one of the hardest working units we have at Liberal High School, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have them on tonight. Also, I think they're a great program to promote here, and Cheer is becoming a competition, and we want them to talk about that a little bit. All right, ladies, the first thing we'll do is let you introduce yourselves, please.
All right, so I'm Scarlett Disker. I'm the head cheerleading coach at Liberal High School. This is our 8th season to be at the high school. Prior to that, I did 7 seasons as the head cheer and dance coach at Seward County Community College, and I did about 7 years at South Middle School before it was Seymour Rogers Middle School. And I'm an alumni of Liberal High School. I cheered here and West Middle School and also Seward County Community College.
And I'm Nikki Freidendahl. I am Scarlett's mother, and I have been teaching cheer and dance and preparing girls to cheer for over 40 years. And we are just excited with our program and excited with our girls this year.
I'm Isabel Stellinger, and this is my 7th year at Liberal High School coaching cheerleading.
My name is Taya Siever, and I'm a senior this year, and this is my 6th year cheerleading. I'm Miracle Turner, and I'm a senior this year, and I'm also going into my 6th year cheerleading.
That's great. And like I said, I've been impressed with your athletes' work ethic and attendance in summer weights the last several years. This year I know things were a little broken up in the weight room, but really it's been a tradition that's gone on for several years. What do you do as coaches to try to promote that?
So we knew when we took over at the high school 8 years ago that in order to be taken seriously as an athletic group, that we needed to be able to not just say that we were athletic and that we were talented, but that we were able to prove that. And one of the things that we implemented right away was the use of the weight room in the summer. We believe in walking our walk as much as talking our talk. That's a big part of who we are as a coaching staff and as a team. And the weight room is a huge part of that. And it provides discipline for our athletes. It puts them on a summer schedule that's very important. It also helps control injury. So it's an injury prevention piece of our puzzle, because what we do is not easy. I think that our team is very gifted and we make it look easy, but it is not easy. And it is hours spent in technical practice and also weightlifting, weight room, and just, being integrated into the Liberal High School system. I'm an alumni here. I graduated in 98. That's when we were putting state championship football banners and track banners on the wall every year. And there's a reason that was happening. And that's because we spent our entire summers in the weight room. And we wanted to bring that back to our program.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad to hear you mention injury prevention, because, a lot of people don't realize that injuries unfortunately are a big part of cheerleading. It is a much more dangerous sport than most people realize. And so I think that, focusing on that weight room aspect as an injury preventative is a great idea. You recently finished a cheer camp. Why don't you tell us about your cheer camp? How'd that go?
Well, it was a little different this summer than it's been in the past, and we can all chime in as we go along here. But since the beginning of our coaching careers, we've always believed in providing our athletes with the best experience possible. And the best experience includes being around a lot of competition. So we don't like to just go to cheer camps and say we were the best, but there was only 3 teams there. We like to go to large camps. We like to expose them to a lot of competition. And so that makes us better. You're not the best unless you compete against the best. So we're used to going to large camps. When we came back to the high school, we took them to K-State for 3 years. Now we have girls cheering there, so they were exposed to that. We went to Emporia State for 3 years. That's a large camp as well. And then last year, I wanted to take them back to the University of Oklahoma, which is where we used to take our teams when we were at South Middle School. It's a great camp. It's run by OU, and NCA brings their staffers in, but OU still runs it, unlike some other camps. And we still have friends there that are running it, and we got to see them again. And where there's a bigger camp, there's more exposure to higher level staff staffers. So we had Division I cheerleaders staffing these camps from LSU and from Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, some of the best cheerleaders in the country. So we were so eager to go back there this year. But as the spring kind of came and the COVID situation started taking over our lives a little bit, we knew that it might not happen. And in about May of 2020, we were notified by OU that they were canceling all summer camps. So when you go to the campus, you'll see wrestlers there. They're having wrestling camp. And then there's basketball players over here. And we're all gymnastics camps. They're known for being NCAA national champion gymnasts. So we're used to all of that and being around all these great athletes. But they decided to close camps for the summer. And I know why. They wanted to allow the campus to be open and ready in the fall for their athletes. And we understood that. So we started making a plan in about May. We didn't want to just juggle dates constantly for our team members. There's 36 young people impacted and their families. So we didn't want to continue to juggle dates. And so we opted for a home camp. We brought in NCA staffers to our location here in Liberal, which is more than some other teams got to do. A lot of other teams just decided not to have camp. And we tried to provide the best experience possible for the kids and make sure that our seniors, especially, these two ladies are some of our seniors, that they've got that experience. We don't want to get into a cancel culture where we just allow times in their lives to just pass and that we're not worried about it, because we are worried about it.
Those times back.
Yes. Yeah. So we had a home camp. We weren't able to have that final day competition experience and go for trophies like we're used to, but we still had All-American tryouts, and we had 6 young ladies make the All-American team.
Well, that's great.
Was exciting. So overall, they said they had a great time. We learned a lot, and ready to showcase it.
That's great. So Taya and Miracle, how was the camp for you two?
It was good. I liked it just because we got more attention.
Yeah.
We got to learn more things faster and get them done faster than we would be able to do at a big camp. And I also like that they brought some of the big camp things to our little camp. So it made it feel like we were still there kind of, and we weren't missing out as much as we thought we were going to miss out. That's one thing I really liked about it.
Yeah, that's great.
Just like she said, we really got to learn a lot of things. We do learn a lot of things normally when we go to the bigger camps, but we had a lot of attention, so we would work on the things and we could keep the things, because usually we'll learn things so quickly that we won't get to remember them and bring them home. But now we got to keep a lot more than usual. Yeah. And also, if it's something we have for whenever we have it, we could see how good we're going to be that year. And this year, our JV really is looking good. So I'm excited for our program, because they're going to keep on the same track as we are.
That's great. Yeah, I can imagine that you get a lot more one-on-one attention from the NCA staff that way, but and so it's probably nice to have a mix of, going to the big camps and then coming back to a smaller home camp. It's great you were able to do something to arrange something at least. Yeah, so that's great. And really, our state is just beginning to open up cheerleading as a competition. Okay. And I'm talking more here to the audience than to you ladies, because you know this. But for a long time in Kansas, cheerleading was an athletic activity, but it was not really a sport because they weren't allowed to compete. And now the state is opening that up, and they're allowing cheerleaders to compete more and more. And I believe last year was our first state competition. Is that right?
It was actually our third.
Our third. Oh, okay. Great. So now there is a state competition, and our ladies were involved in the state competition last year. And so how do you see that changing and opening up in the future?
Well, we were part of the group of coaches that were pretty vocal about wanting a state level competition. So as college coaches, Mom and I, we knew the deficiencies that existed when you compared Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Kansas cheerleading. So we recruited a lot from Kansas for scholarship purposes, but we also recruited right across the state line to Oklahoma and to Texas, because the restrictions on skills in those states is a lot more free than in Kansas. Kansas has a really tight grip on a lot of different types of stunts, but you go right across that border, you see all of these things that are able to be done, by Texas and Oklahoma. And that's really important for college coaches. We need to see some of those skills. So we were pretty vocal when we came back to the high school. We want a state level competition. We don't want our cheerleaders here to be behind when it comes to the college recruitment process. Making a college Division I or a JUCO team, in a lot of cases, it depends on where you're going, is just as difficult for cheerleading as it is for football or for basketball or volleyball. If you are a D1 cheerleader, you are good. You are very, very gifted. And so we started to open up the conversation a lot about wanting this state competition. And 3 years ago was the first time that Keisha decided to host it. And of course, we were there. We weren't scared. We were there. There was a lot of unknowns, but it's like, we are going to go and we're going to battle through this and see what it's like. It turned out to be a little different than what we thought. Whereas we are very used to skill-based routines and competition. So if anybody's seen our cheerleaders, you're used to a lot of twisting and flipping and aerial acrobatics. And that's who we are as a team. We're very performance-based. This is a more game day style competition. So there's a lot of incorporation of props and megaphones and flags. It's a lot more of that style. And you kind of water down your acrobatics, your tumbling, your stunting. So that first year we learned that, because I believe there were teams that maybe didn't have the skill set that we had, that placed a little bit higher than us, but they had a few more props. So that first year we placed 5th in 5A, which, we were okay with. We wanted to place, that was the goal, and it was new for everybody. But we were hungry. We were not satisfied with that. Then when we went back our second season, we were in 6A, and that is a whole another animal. I mean, 6A is the toughest cheerleading competition
like reminiscing
that you
about
will
it.
ever see. I was very pleased with how we did. I thought we were amazing skill-wise. I mean, just near perfect. But for whatever reason that day, it's a very subjective style of judging. And for whatever reason, we did not score in one event the way we thought we should have. And there were some little things involved in that scoring that we didn't agree with, but we did not place in the top 5. But last year we went back, placed top 5 again. Great experience. We were actually 3rd going into the finals, and there's about 80 teams at state. And we placed 4th overall going into the final. So out of 80 teams, we were the 4th highest score out of prelims, which is huge considering we're a smaller town in Southwest Kansas. So we just hope that it happens again this year, because we think we can do it. We're 4th time is the charm.
Okay, so somebody here, because I honestly, I'm ashamed to admit I don't know a whole lot about cheerleading, and especially the competitive aspects of it. Somebody kind of walk me through the whole process of how a cheer competition works.
Well, I'll kind of start a little bit, and then I'll let them elaborate as they see fit. So there are several different types of cheer competitions. Keisha controls what we can go to and what we can't go to. So whereas across the state line, you'll see teams that are able to do several different styles of competitions. We are allowed to do NCAA nationals, and we're allowed to do Keisha State Game Day, which is what we've been doing the last couple of years. It's very intense situation. You basically walk in, you check in, you show all of your music and that you've paid for all of that, and you get through this process, and then everybody gets into this holding cell, which is the warm-up room. And I was telling them before we started, I have years of cheer and dance experience, but I get very nervous in the hotel room when we're waiting to go. But the minute that I walk into the warm-up facility, I'm totally calm, because there's just an adrenaline and an excitement that happens once you've checked in and you're there. So you have about 8 minutes on the mat to warm up each event. It's a very structured type of warm up. You can't be on the mat any longer than they tell you. A bell rings, you have to get off the mat. There's 80 teams and practicing, cheering, dancing, stunting. There's flags, there's mascots. It's very crazy. My husband has been like, I do not know how you deal with that. I mean, it's like a volleyball match, like with 85 teams going at one time. It's crazy. But then you warm up one event, you go out, you go to the holding area, then you move around to the mat, you perform that event, and this goes on until everybody's done their 3 events, which is fight song, a cheer, a game day cheer, and then a band chant. So what else do you want to add about competition?
I want to reiterate the fact that there's 80 teams here, and we really are one of the only Southwest Kansas teams that travel that far. Our school
Right.
has, allowed us to do that and allow us to go. We don't see a lot of those Southwest, even past Wichita. It's all that way west and east. So we're able to really represent this side of the state and liberal well. And the 3 categories you said were fight song, band chant, and
Game day cheer.
Crowd leading. And my favorite is seeing the fight song. Like I said, I love being able to showcase our fight song out there. It's really cool.
Our fight song is one of the highlights of the day.
It's my favorite.
When Liberal High School goes out to do the fight song, the entire arena just stops and watches because it's so impressive. They just bring so much energy. We record it on a faster level than other teams. So you'll see other teams that do on Wisconsin because we all have, similar fight songs, but nobody does it as fast as we do it. So
it's just really exciting.
And the whole crowd just erupts. I mean, they're not just kind of sitting over there because they're part of our competition. I mean, they get into it. They're excited, and they cheer and yell for the girls when they're out there. It's really awesome.
Yeah, you're successful when people who don't know you stand up and scream when you're done because you impacted people that much.
Yeah.
So did you want to add anything?
What's your favorite part?
I think the best part is whenever you get out there, everyone's staring at you, and as soon as the music starts and you hit your high beat, everyone is just like their jaws drop, and they're like, "Wow!" They're right. Our fight song is probably the best thing I've seen at the state competition.
My favorite part is the ending of the performance because you feel relief. And also everything you put everything into just that one little amount of time. And when you get done, you just feel just better. And you see everyone so proud of you and all your hard work just pays off. So that's why it means a lot to us going to state because we're so little and we just want to show that no matter where you come from, you can be big like everybody else.
That's true.
Also, to add to that, after you do your prelims, there's they announce who's going to be in the finals. And as we're all waiting there, they're announcing the 6A finals. And as we said the year before, we didn't make finals, and we were expecting to make finals. So it was a little sad. But last year, whenever we were all waiting there, holding hands, hoping with all our hearts to make finals, and we made it. And it was
just to hear liberal.
Everyone started screaming. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
All those teams are sitting out there on the mat waiting for their name to be called. And, your hearts are just pumping and waiting. And then all of a sudden that name is called and the excitement is just unreal.
And one thing that, we hear a lot of this because there's always going to be people that have an opinion. And sometimes we hear, well, anybody can go to state cheer. You don't have to be really great to go. Anybody can sign up and go. Okay, maybe anybody can go, but it's very challenging. And I don't know of any other sport where they have to play every team on one day. Yeah. So we have to battle 23 teams in 6A on the same day.
And pull the scores
and pull the highest score
you into the final.
So it's unique.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds pretty exciting. I know, I know on Twitter this last year when you went to the competition that I saw other schools tweeting about LHS Cheer and how they did on the fight song. So yeah, I know it was something that definitely people noticed. Yeah. And you've already kind of done this, okay, but kind of give us a breakdown of what happened at state last year, and then talk to us after that about what you expect from state this year. I know, like with all sports, we've got COVID-19 hanging over us, and you don't know 100% for sure if you're going to have it or not. But if we have the competition, what do you expect to happen this year?
So we're obviously having positive thoughts. We want to make sure it happens. We have a very talented team. We have 11 seniors, and we want to make sure they get their chance to go. There's been talk about, okay, if it happens, then they might not be able to stunt. Well, obviously we want to be able to stunt. We
Right.
take the athleticism side of cheerleading pretty seriously. So we're not overly interested in just going and doing our motions. But if that's the criteria and that's the only criteria, then I think we'll still do that. As far as how it happened last year. So as a coaching staff, we basically dissect the score sheet. We look through it. We see if anything, any vulnerability in the score sheet that we may have missed the year before, anything that will add points. And it's a strategy, same as any other sport. Okay, so what kind of plays are we going to do? Who are we going to use to do this? This is what they're judging on. So yeah, we watch film from the previous year. We watch film of people who placed higher or lower. We try to figure out all of those types of things. So it's very strategic. And we know if we want to make finals, we have to score in the top 3 to 5 of every event. It's not going to work to score first in fight song, 6th in band chant, and nowhere in crowd leading. It's not going to work. And so what happened to us 2 years ago is we scored 2nd or 3rd in 6A in the fight song. We scored about 4th in band chant. Our band chant was amazing. And then for whatever reason, we just dropped off the scale in crowd leading. They just didn't like a few things that we did, even though our stunts were beautiful. Our tumbling was gorgeous. It was a little too technical for them. They wanted a little more interaction with the crowd, which if anybody's seen our team perform, our crowd interacts with us, but just a little bit differently than some old school type cheerleading.
So we knew with so much synchronicity.
Right.
Like 34 girls or 24 girls looking like one when they're out there.
And we knew that we had to correct the crowd leading competition if we wanted to stand a chance in 6A another year. So we did. We went back and evaluated that several times. And we were making changes to the crowd leading, which is the cheer, stunt, tumbling sequence. We made adjustments to that up until the night before we left. I kept reviewing film and saying, we need to add this, we need to fix that. And it paid off because you get your preliminary scores as soon as the preliminary results are announced. So if you're going into the final, you have a chance to look at your score sheets before you go out to do your final performance. So I knew we were in 3rd going into the final last November, which was super exciting, but you kind of wonder if you should tell your team that. You don't want to put unnecessary pressure on them, but you also kind of want them to know where they are. So we believe in telling our team where we stand all the time as coaches. And so we told them we're in 3rd, and that's where we were. And 4th overall, there was only one other team in class 4A that had outscored us in the whole competition. So we were very proud of that. We made one error in the final, and it wasn't a stunting error, but in the final, you combine all 3 of your competitions, your crowd leading, your fight song, your band chant. And then on top of that, you do a situational element where they come over the loudspeaker and give you a football scenario and you respond in offense or defense.
Right.
As a coach, I always select 1 or 2 people to make sure they're calling the right chant or the right cheer. And we unfortunately got a kind of a more complex situational element, and you're under a time restraint. And so the first part of the situational element sounded like it was an offense call. And then at the very end, there was a wording piece in the very end that all of a sudden we knew it was defense. But one of our cheer captains was already calling the offensive call.
Oh.
And they don't know this. I don't think I've told anybody this except for the coaching staff. But we lost 15 points on that error. And had we not have made that error, then we would have probably won the whole thing after
Wow.
the score sheets.
Yep.
When I added up what we would have lost and put it back in and averaged it, we would have been 1st or 2nd.
Uh-huh.
So we will make sure the team knows that going into this year. And you learn something from everything.
Exactly.
As a
Absolutely.
coach, you learn, okay, maybe I need to change the way I assign that particular function, or maybe we'll approach it a little bit differently. And I own what decisions that we make, and you learn and you move forward. It's just like, okay, who's getting the ball in the last 2 seconds to score the 3-pointer to tie the game? You got to make a decision as a coach.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And I wonder too if maybe they added a few seconds to that 3-minute, because the final routine cannot go over 3 minutes. And if you do, you get a 5/10
You get a
deduction
deduction.
from each judge or
Right.
whatever that is. And each one of the 3 events are each 1 minute long. So when you go to that, that's 3 minutes right there if you use
Right.
the full time, which we do. And then you add that situational
Situational.
element, that's another 15 seconds. So
Right.
you have to cut something off a
And it
little
causes
bit,
a little bit of
and
pressure.
it makes a little bit of pressure on those girls.
Yeah.
'Cause no, we're under the gun. We've got to stay under that time limit. And so
Yeah.
the minute they hear something, they go, oh, that's offense. They start calling because
Mhm.
they know we don't have any time to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. Something too, you know, we're talking about competition, but even if it wasn't for competition, cheerleading to me would still be a hugely important thing. So what do you see as the importance of cheerleading outside of competition to the other sports at Liberal High School?
Well, I also am involved with student council, and I see how important putting events on and supporting our school, how important that is. And I think that our cheerleaders do a great job in being positive and supporting all of our athletes and the student body. And I think that that is a life skill that they're learning from cheerleading, is to be a positive role model, a good citizen, a good student. And I think that's why I love cheerleading so much, is to see the positive impact that they can make on themselves, but also the whole student body. And we really hope and pray that we can support our teams as well, because that is a huge aspect of cheerleading, and they can create those memories, and we'll hope
Leadership qualities.
and the girls are really able to showcase those leadership skills and learn them. And so I'm excited for them to be able to do that.
All right. So Derek is actually sending me some messages here, and he's got a great question. He says, organized cheerleading began in 1860. Females did not participate until 1923. Obviously, things have changed. Do men still play a role in organized cheerleading?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. We actually had 2 yell leaders last year.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mom and I coached at Seward County, a co-ed team was just, that's what you did. And so
Right.
there was one season we had more boys than we had girls, because at the college
Yeah.
level, that's kind of what you need in order to make those types of stunt sequences and acrobatics happen.
Right.
But, you know, cheerleading is an all-American sport. For years, we've been known as these great girls who go out, and on Friday nights we support our teams, and we love that aspect about it. That's what I grew up doing, but we're so excited to see how it's evolved, the athleticism by which it has evolved. It allows a whole group of athletes to showcase skills they may not have otherwise been able to showcase. You don't know what's walking through the halls of Liberal High School sometimes, and we take a lot of pride in bringing people in. We don't care if they have experience or not, but they have to have a great attitude. They have to have a heart that really cares for this sport and for each other, and it's willing to abide by the discipline and the structure that we give them. And we'll turn anybody into a cheerleader, guy or girl, as long as they have the will to do it.
Yeah.
One of our instructors this year from NCA, we had one male instructor and one female instructor.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Came for our camp.
Yep. How about individuals? Are there any individuals on the team you'd like to highlight tonight?
Well, I'm going to talk about these 2 girls behind me.
Well, good. Yeah.
So these 2 girls, we invited them to come on the show tonight. They didn't get to do our Sports Guy show a couple of weeks ago, just due to different things that they had, obligations that they had. So I was like, come on down, let's do this tonight. I love to expose them to any type of media event, talking in public, new experiences. So obviously, Taya, I've had for 4 years. She's been a 4-year varsity member for me. Just a ray of sunshine. Anybody who knows Taya, I mean, she's great for the one-liner. She'll say anything that out of the blue that just makes me laugh. I think Taya's ridden in my vehicle to every away game since she was a freshman. And so you put a lot of miles on those Suburbans, and you spend a lot of time with these kids and you get to know them. She has a great attitude. Everybody on the team loves her. She wants to cheer Division I, right, Tay?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
She's interested in the University of Texas.
Yes.
And what else?
Yeah.
And TCU.
And TCU, so Texas Christian, Horned Frogs. We highly encourage our athletes to shoot for big dreams, and we have so many that have done that, and we have so many that are yet to come. And we don't want them to ever feel like there's anything that can hold them back. And as coaches, it is our job to facilitate that. It is our job to make sure that their grades are high enough, that their ACT scores are in the range they need to be, and to try to get them as much scholarship and to have these experiences. I mean, we've had girls cheering at K-State, Oklahoma State, Wichita State in the Final Four, and those are just experiences that a small percentage of cheerleaders get. And the fact that we have a resume that has kids on there, that is the best reward as a coach. So Tay is hopeful for that. And she was an All-American this summer. She was an All-American as a freshman. Then we took a 2-year break. She's a fabulous cheerleader, but sometimes, you can be a great cheerleader, right, and you might not make the All-American team. But we like for that process to be difficult, so that when you do get on there, that it's well-deserved. And then this summer she made it back. So she has bookends. She has freshman year, senior year. Then Miracle Turner here on my left, we were just talking about Miracle before we started. So I had my eye on Miracle since she was like a 3-year-old baby coming to her big brother's football games at South Middle School. She was the cutest child. And she would always show up to the games. Mom and I were coaching. Show up to the games in her South Middle School Apache cheerleading gear. And I would ask her, do you want to be a cheerleader when you grow up? Yes. I mean, it's like the only thing she wanted was to be a cheerleader. And she was one of the most faithful fans. And she's cheered for me for 4 years, 1 on JV, 3 on varsity. I will say she's one of the most level-headed people we have on our team. She can take some hits and stunting. Like, she is on that side when somebody's making a rotation to catch them. She's usually on the side that they're making the rotation on, and she never walks away. She never backs down. She's one of the toughest athletes that I have. She's very willing to be on a team, but not be the person that's right in the front getting all of the attention. She's the workhorse, She's the offensive line. There has to be an offensive line. Yeah. For the quarterback or for the running back to score, we have to have people that are blocking so they can do that. And she does that. And sometimes people, when they watch cheerleaders, they're watching the flyer. They're watching the girl that's in the air, the one that's holding the sign. But it takes 3 people to put that person up there. And Tay and Miracle are some of those people that do that. And we can't be as successful if we don't have them. So that's what I wanted to say about them.
We say that Miracle is such a good teacher also. Anytime that we're having to do any type of instruction for the girls, she is able to explain it and teach those girls in such a neat way. A lot of people don't have that quality, and she definitely does. And with her taking a lot of these hits, we always say that cheerleading is a full contact sport with no pads. And these girls have to take it and take it and take it over and over again.
I mean, by the time people see us perform, it's very finessed, it's very pretty, and you rarely see a live hit that's really rough. But it takes a lot to get there. And whenever we have a new team member, even a veteran that's struggling with something, and as a coach, I'm not able to get through to them on the skill, I'll be like, Miracle, can you help me explain this? And she can coach them. She needs to be a coach someday.
Yes. Thinking about it.
So I can retire.
Well, that's great. Hey, I want to thank you ladies for being with us tonight. I think you've got a great program. You've got some great girls that are cheering for you. And, as a coach at Liberal High School, we really appreciate everything you do for Liberal High School. So, I just want to say thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for being on the show tonight. And hopefully we'll have you on again here one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for now, I'm going to let you get back to your lives. And like I said, thank you very much for everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Guys, that is honestly one of the hardest working units at Liberal High School. They really are. Maybe the hardest working unit at Liberal High School. There are a couple of news items that I want to talk about. Obviously, the most obvious one is we start playing football here. Okay, Friday. There may even be some games in the state tomorrow. Okay, but most people are going to be in action Friday. We will be in action at Goodland Friday. But there's going to be a full slate of games around the area. Another item of news that just came about yesterday, after a whole lot of protests and some very vocal parents and very vocal coaches and players, USD 259 Wichita did vote to go ahead and have a fall athletic season. So all their sports are back on for the fall. They've released a football schedule, but they have not released that I have seen. They've not released schedules for some of the other sports. In football, though, the Wichita schools are just going to play themselves in the regular season. There are 7 Wichita schools, and they'll basically play each other in kind of a round robin in the regular season. I think they're also doing something similar to that in soccer, but in some of the other sports, cross country, I'm sure they'll just start going to meets. And other sports, I'm sure they'll volleyball. I'm honestly not sure. Volleyball is often organized into tournaments and things like that, and they can probably still get into some of those tournaments. So every sport will be a little bit different, but in football, at least, they're going to play each other, and they will be eligible for the playoffs. So and they'll be in the playoffs, because in 4, 5, and 6A in Kansas, everybody makes the playoffs. And so they will be in the playoffs. They'll only be playing each other up until then, but they will be in the playoffs when the playoffs roll around. As far as Kansas City goes, Olathe has opened up their sports now after Labor Day, or will after Labor Day. But Blue Valley, Shawnee Mission, and any of the Kansas City, Kansas public schools are still shut down. And so that's where we stand as a state with COVID-19. Competition started this week in other sports. I know at Liberal, I've seen scores from volleyball matches in the last few days and tournaments. I think I saw scores from volleyball tournaments this weekend, and there was volleyball in action yesterday. Liberal was in action for the first time, I believe, today. Cross country, Liberal's cross country team takes off tomorrow, I believe, for their first meet, and some other cross country teams are also going to be in action around the area. And so that's something to keep in mind too. So we're starting to see the fall sports start to happen. I think that's a great thing. I think it hopefully will bring some normalcy back to a lot of our lives. It'll bring some normalcy back to the students' lives, though, and that's what's most important. And I think, we've still got this pandemic going on. We've still got to deal with it. But at the same time, the more normalcy we can bring back to those students' lives, I think the better off they're going to be. And that's kind of where we are. Something I do want to tell you about that I'm kind of excited about. We will start with a Saturday breakdown this Saturday. I think we're going to go live at 2:00 Saturday. So be watching for that. And, we'll post links to that and everything like that. The Saturday breakdown is just going to be a show where I'm going to take a look at scores from Friday night. We'll talk about each of those games a little bit. We'll maybe talk about some stats, some highlight maybe some key players. We'll take a look at, as the season progresses, we'll take a look at district standings, seeding for the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll probably even make a fool out of myself by going on and making some predictions for the coming weeks. So that's something that we'll start doing on Saturday afternoons, and we'll start that this Saturday at 2:00, and we're kind of looking forward to that. Now, as far as the Wednesday night show in the free zone here, we've got things planned on down the road, but for right now, we're kind of reactive like everybody else. We're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with this season in all sports, and we're looking to move on from there. So we will be live every Wednesday night at 8:00, and we will also be live on Saturdays at 2:00. and we're really excited and looking forward to it. Back Home Media is not only are we expanding this program, but Back Home Media is looking to expand their stable of podcasts. And so Back Home Media is looking for you if you're interested in doing a podcast. If you have an expertise in some niche, they would love to talk to you about that. Back Home Media is, of course, the producer of this program. They've got a great stable of podcasts, but they offer plenty of other services. You'll see on the crawl down at the bottom of the screen there, backhomemedia.com. Check out the website to see what they can do for you, what services they can offer to you. They're a great company, and I'm really excited to be with them. That's about all I can really think of for tonight. So thank you for tuning in. LHS Cheer, that was a great group with a lot of energy. I'm looking forward to their season as well as our own season, and really just looking forward to everybody's season. I can't wait to see what's going to happen Friday night on the football courts, and what's going to happen on the football fields, and what's going to happen on volleyball courts and cross country courses, golf courses, and everything like that around the area this fall. I'm pretty excited to have athletics back and to have some normalcy back in the lives of those kids. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Wednesday right here on In the Free Zone with Norm.
Well, I don't think and I thought it, that's different. I said what I said and I meant it, or lamented. Words given weight without thought in a person, the way that I talk and the way that I ought to be able to pause and to say that the fault can be placed on my arms, to this playful assault, to disgrace in its arm. Pray for the day they could wait for the calm. You can't control the storm, only weather it, whether it's 5 weeks and 5 days of rain sideways, or scorched earth, search for death or water, left with all the thorns, with the petals gone, settle on the breath of autumn. If the ground fits, wear it, the crown fits. If the crown fits,